I think we're really weak with delayed gratification. We want it now, man. We are a culture of now, immediate. Amazon. Order it, it's at my doorstep in a matter of hours. Waiting for something for days or weeks on end, or whether it's an answer to something, a question that you have, or something that a physical thing that you need. Yeah, we don't know how to delay our gratification, and I think that messes us up. My wife, sometimes she'll get something, like a special occasion, say it's like my birthday or Father's Day or whatever it is, and she'd be like, "You want to know? Do you want to know? Or do you want it now?" And it'll be like days ahead or something. I'll be like, "No, I don't want to know, and I don't want it now. I want it like when I'm supposed to get it." I'm kind of adamant about that. There's nothing I want so badly that I need it like immediately. Some things are great and better when they take a little longer. We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 strength and health authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Strong by Design podcast. Hosting today, Coach Chris Wilson. So glad to have you. Thank you for joining us. First-time listeners, welcome. And long-time listeners, thank you so much for your support. Hope that you enjoy what I'll be talking about today. I'm sure you will. If you're a patriot like me, then you'll probably love this topic. Hey, but if you're not much of a patriot these days, if you're feeling like America is letting you down, maybe this is a good episode for you to at least listen to. You might not agree with everything I have to say. However, you might agree with a few things I have to say, because I think ultimately whether you love the country you live in or hate it, there is common ground. And ultimately, I'm going to dig at some uncomfortable things, some controversial things potentially, some long-standing thoughts, and some new things that maybe we need to start considering when it comes to our country, where it is today versus where it was when it was founded in 1776. I, myself, am a bicentennial baby. I was born in 1976, America's 200th birthday. So the 250 birthday celebration is pretty exciting for me, since it's technically my second big birthday celebration for the country. And it's really neat to kind of think about that. I don't think I spent much time leading up to this, kind of thinking back to, the changes and just the unbelievable history that we have had in a relatively short period of time, in 250 years. Kind of a young country compared to the rest of the world, of course, and but certainly our impact globally is pretty phenomenal. And so why don't we just dig right at it? Because I have a few questions here that I'm going to kind of talk through my answers. And whether, like I said at the start, whether you agree with me or not, I think it's at least worth your time to listen and to reflect a little bit on these yourself. And how would you answer these questions? So let's just start with this first one. Can a physically unhealthy, spiritually confused, and chronically offended population remain free? And my short answer, I said yes, but only for a limited amount of time. And I say that, and I'll break it down one by one. I'll go through physical health, spiritual health, and this chronic offense that people seem to have anymore these days. So freedom has been inherited by most of us on this planet right now, or most of us in this country, I should say. Obviously, we do have an impact on freedom globally, but I'm just speaking, of course, about America. And most of us living today did not have to fight for our freedom so much. Certainly we have some older men and women who have, and those are the ones that we owe everything to. But it cannot be sustained, freedom, without strong people. So in the absence of strong people, freedom will crumble. A free society, okay, requires healthy bodies. It requires spiritual clarity and emotional resilience. And I think we've seen over my lifetime, the last 50 years, we've seen healthy bodies relatively in the 40s, 50s, 60s into the 70s start to become really unhealthy in the 80s and 90s, again, most of my lifetime. Spiritual clarity, which seemed, if you go back 100 years, really clear. Even if you go back 50, it was still pretty clear. But I would say, again, over my lifetime, over the last 50 years, God has been almost eradicated or removed or forgotten or lost in lots of areas of our life. And emotional resilience seems to be kind of a thing of the past, out the window, especially with not necessarily, I don't want to pick on young people because I've seen some really strong, awesome, amazing young people. I don't want to pick on any one generation. I just want to say kind of overall as a culture right now, because I see it with a lot of older people, emotionally, they're just a disaster, a complete mess. And so, I do want to talk through these things. So let's first start with physical health, which is where my strongest area of or subject matter that I've been working in for the last almost 30 years, right? So since the late 90s, I've been working in the health and fitness space. We know that poor health limits our capacity to do things. It limits our freedom. We see obesity. We see chronic disease. We see addictions of many kinds. I lost my dad to basically smoking and drinking addiction. There were other factors at play, but I would say over the course of his lifetime that smoking and drinking were probably the biggest culprits in his health decline. I mean, to die at 62 years old, when really most of his life he was physically in really good shape, always active and moving and not obese, not overweight, not anything. But as he got older with depression and medications and stuff being at play, along with the smoking continuing and the drinking, it was just a recipe for disaster. And inactivity. Okay, so you take this, you take obesity, you take chronic disease, addiction, inactivity. What do you have? You have a very unhealthy person who's probably not going to live very long. So physical health absolutely impacts our freedom. It impacts our ability to have life, our longevity. Unhealthy people become more dependent on others, right? So unhealthy people become dependent on healthy people to live. To do things, to function, to give them some kind of quality of life. Strong nations, I think we can all agree on this, on some level, are built by healthy, capable citizens. If you're unhealthy and incapable, you're not really contributing to society very well, and you become a dependent. You become a burden, if you will, not to relegate people to being a burden, but in essence, you are a burden on society if you are somebody that's unable. Now, again, the one caveat will be our seniors, people who have lived a long life, and not because of any one of these issues, maybe they're in their 80s or whatever, and they need others' help to function in life. Well, that's an age-related thing. I'm not attacking that by any measure. I'm attacking these other things that are within our control. We spend a lot of time protecting political freedom while neglecting personal responsibility. Yeah, boy, is that true. I wrote that down. We spend a lot of time protecting political freedom or freedoms while we neglect our personal responsibilities. A lot of us. I'll include myself in that. There's certainly some stuff that I neglect on occasion. Personal responsibility to be kind to others, to not lose my patience over inconsequential things, over minor things. What else? Neglecting personal responsibility. I mean, we all contribute on some level to our community, right? So what are things that we could, personal responsibility of something simple like I go for a walk with my dog and I don't pick up my dog poop anytime I go for a walk with my dog. What does that do? Well, that would piss off my neighbors, right? Not only does it have some kind of an impact, obviously, on all the lawns, various lawns that I'm leaving with my dog poop on it, but I'm definitely having an impact on my community. I'm creating neighbors that don't like me or don't respect me, or and that, again, that's a very small thing, but it's like an entry level thing. And if we all are doing that, how about if I go for a walk and I just see litter on the left and the right side of me on the sidewalk, and I just kind of walk past it? Not my job to pick it up. But if everybody feels that way, then it's nobody's job to ever pick it up, other than like some kind of crew that comes out semi-regularly, maybe once every couple of months, roadside crew to like pick garbage up. But I mean, there's little things that we can do to contribute in our communities, in our neighborhoods, that make life better for everyone. I do walk my dogs. I do pick up their crap. I want people when they walk past my house to do the same. So my expectations would be, yeah, I'm going to do that because I expect others to do that. I'm going to put out my garbage and not make my garbage other people's responsibility. So these simple things, these are neglecting personal responsibilities as being a good citizen, a good neighbor. And it works up obviously much higher. I'm talking about, bottom level type stuff here. But these all contribute to, and that kind of goes a little bit out of the realm of physical health, but let's talk about spiritual clarity. Every person eventually answers or ignores life's biggest questions. What are life's biggest questions? Why am I here? Who created me? Is there objective truth? What is my purpose? I think those are 4 good ones, right? We all have asked that question at some point. Why am I here? Even little kids, right? Who created me? Is there objective truth? Does truth exist? I have a question for you. It's very simple. I do this somehow. I'll ask this to people. Did truth exist before people? Okay. Well, the very easy answer is yes, right? Did the sun rise and set before a person said that it happened? Or when a tree fell, did it make a sound? Did it disrupt nature? Like, what were there tides and waves crashing on the beach before man was there to witness it? Right? Anything. Did the wind blow before we were there to feel it? I mean, I would say yes to all of these things, and I think if you're a logical person, you would as well, right? So we know there is objective truth. Why am I here? That I don't know. I don't know if I'll know the answer to that question until my day comes. Who created me? I have a pretty good evidence for that, and I'm pretty sure that an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving source of creation created me, and I call that God. I'm a Christian, so for me it's Jesus, right? It's the Holy Trinity. It's God, it's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I believe that God created all life, that matter did not create itself. I mean, it comes down to either a mind created matter or matter created matter. Those are your 2 options. What's the one that makes the most sense? Well, A rock can't create itself. A tree, unless a tree grows and drops an acorn, then it can create itself, right? But who created the first tree? If we don't seek truth in life, something else fills that void. That's why it's so important, I think, to seek truth and to live your life looking for truth in things. Because we know, without a doubt, and in my 50 years I know this to be true, that politics, that money, your identity, whatever you think that is, your success, the government, all of these things. And when I say identity, let's just say sexual identity, because that's become such a thing, right? So let's say that politics, money, sexual identity, success, and government often become substitutes for God. And that's why I think there's so many broken people and people who are not able to find peace in their life, is because they're looking for peace in all of those things, all those material, human-made things. Politics, money, sex, success, government. That's where we're looking for peace. And it doesn't come from those things. Ultimate peace can only come from our Creator, in my belief. And that's why I think prayer and reading the Bible and being kind to others, serving others. Listen, I am far from perfect at any of these things. I practice them. I try them. I think my number one flaw is not being kind to people I love the most. I think we take advantage of that. So it starts at home. And then it kind of goes out from there. I think ripples out from there into your neighborhood, into your community, into the greater the town you live in, the state you live in. It kind of ripples out. It's a ripple, right? If you think of a pond, and you think of someone standing on the edge of a pond, and it's a nice, glassy, beautiful, quiet morning, and the water is very still, and you throw one pebble out, it doesn't have to be big, that one pebble creates a pretty impressive amount of ripples. One ripple kind of comes out, and that ripple will move across that water and stretch out pretty darn far. And if you throw another one, the new ripples start to overlap with the ripples from the first pebble. And if you continue to throw those out, just think of each pebble as a different person. And all of these overlaps with all these ripples, right, impacting each other, affecting each other. And that's kind of our life, right? That's our existence. And I think in the chaos of things and the craziness and the busyness and the speed and the pace of life, that when we start looking for true peace to settle us in man-made things, in success, in money, in sex, in power, whatever it is, we're going to come up empty every time. We're going to come up short. We're going to come up wanting, because it's not filling that void. And then if we go to this chronic offense issue that I brought up, we are so emotionally affected anymore. We live in a culture that rewards outrage. I think the abundance of news and politics and social media coverage absolutely profit from people losing it, people being angry, people going off on others physically or verbally or whatever. Like explosive behavior sells. And if everything offends you, you'll never experience peace. That's for sure. if everything offends you. There's a great book, Unoffended. I read it several years ago. I have to read it again. It's terrific. I highly recommend it. I'm trying to think of the author's name. It's escaping me at the moment, but terrific book. And a lot of humor. It's so good. It's so well written. Unoffended. You have to check that out. I'll put it. If I remember, I will put it in the show notes. Access to that book. It's terrific, terrific book. Emotionally resilient people are difficult to manipulate. Emotionally resilient people, they're grounded. They know who they are. They think logically about things. They're better listeners probably than necessarily filling the air with their voice, which is something I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit better at, trying to just close my mouth and be a better listener, taking in what other people are saying. Self-control is a form of freedom. Self-control is a form of freedom. It is. When you can control your feelings and your reactions, your response to things, I think it does free you up to communicate better with others, to be a better listener, to think before you speak. And again, I am by no means like a master of these things. I'm just pointing this out. Okay, let's be clear here. I have a real competitive kind of intensity about me, just as with coaching or anything that is competitive in nature. I can get really intense, and sometimes I overstep, certainly, and become a jerk. So I've had to apologize to a lot of people over the years for that. But I like really going if I'm participating in something. I like to be all in. I'm just an all in kind of person. Even if it's just like a pickup game of something, right? That doesn't matter. But at the moment, it matters to me like crazy. It doesn't matter what it is that I'm doing. I'm just competitive. I think there's a lot of people that are like that. They just have that spirit about them. They're whatever it is that they're doing. It could be something with their kid, something with their spouse, something with their friend, something with coworkers, a silly little game, some kind of physical competition, whatever it is. I think it's just from growing up. I was the youngest of three boys, and I was always out doing stuff with my brothers or my friends in the neighborhood, and it was always who could do it better, and that's just part of who I am, how I operate. But a chronic offense that we all have, or several of us have nowadays, has kind of gotten out of control, a little bit like a wildfire that spread, So these are things to think about. That first question I asked, and you might forget, what was that question, Chris? Can a physically unhealthy, spiritually confused, and chronically offended population remain free? No. For the long haul, no. I don't think they can. They can in the short term, not in the long term, because of all those things I pointed out. Okay, let's go to a different question. Is America today stronger, weaker, or simply different? So America at 250 years, from 1776 to 2026. Is America stronger, weaker, or simply different? My answer to that is all three. I think it's all three. I think in some ways we're stronger, in some ways we're weaker, and in some ways we are just different than we were. Stronger. Well, militarily, we're very strong. Right now, in fact, I think our military force capacity might be the strongest it's ever been. That's technology, obviously, is a huge part of that. With technology specifically and innovation, I think we're probably as strong as we've ever been, right? Because we're always learning from the past. We're always kind of getting to that next level. Certainly, the Industrial Revolution was a huge thing, right, in the 1800s. But exceeded and surpassed, I'm sure, any, if you asked somebody where we'd be in the 1950s or 60s or 70s, they couldn't fathom some of the stuff that we're doing today. Medical advances we're always, like I said, we're always learning, we're always figuring things out. Very smart people in the science community and in the medical communities, engineers of all kinds, right? These people all kind of coming together, using technology and using education and using trial and error and all this testing and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of advances happening, and we're leveling up almost daily. Entrepreneurial opportunities. There are more entrepreneurs today probably than ever. People kind of just because they can use all of this different technology on their own and or in collaboration with others. Pretty impressive. And I think there's a renewed sense of patriotism right now, I personally believe, that reminds me of like my youth of the 80s, of people really kind of feeling a real love for their country. That Ronald Reagan, I think, was very good. I just think he was such a great speaker. He's so soft-spoken. Obviously, Trump is a bit different character than he is, but I think there's a lot of crossover at the same time with how they are operating, not being easily pushed around by any means, and speaking truth to things and pointing things out, even if it's things that people don't want to hear, makes people uncomfortable. But that's how we grow. Now, weaker. How are we maybe weaker today than we were 250 years ago or in previous decades? Well, I think there's less trust right now among people. I feel like in a lot of ways there's a lot less community, even though like that I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm sure some of you listening live in a community, a neighborhood that you just feel super connected to your neighbors and the people up and down your street, or to people at your schools, whatever that is. But overall, I think because of our ability to be isolated with computers and technology and devices and phones and all this stuff, I think in some realms, we're all just kind of walking past each other on the sidewalk with our phone up to our ear or Bluetooth headphones in and ignoring each other. Poor physical health, which I already covered. I think absolutely we're weaker in that area. Even though we have a better understanding of how things function, I think we've let ourselves get real lazy, and our nutrition has really taken a turn for the worse. Hopefully that's getting better with RFK and a lot of those changes that have been happening over the last couple of years. Declining faith, yeah, you start pulling God away from things, I think we get weaker. I think our Christian values and morals that were part of the founding of this country, God is well written into our Declaration. He is well written into our Constitution. And I think when you start to try and remove him or overlook him or ignore him, I think you are going to find yourself weaker at the end. And again, you're going to lose that sense of peace. You're going to lose a lot. And so declining faith has definitely weakened our country. Constantly negative. Oh my gosh. I find myself in this too much too, just because I'm inundated with stuff in my scroll or whatever, right? Just the negativity, just you feed off of it. It makes you negative. It makes you sarcastic. It makes you all these things that aren't really a benefit, even though some of these things are certainly entertaining. I think we certainly need to separate from it and unplug, certainly. Like, we're not meant to see and know everything that's happening everywhere all the time. It's just, I don't think that's necessarily helpful for us. Too much for our brains. We consume too much news, too much social media. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I mean, I recently had a trip on the Weeki Wachee River down here in Florida. I need to take a sip, man. I'm talking so fast, my mouth's getting dry. Weeki Wachee River. It's a spring-fed river with a consistent temperature. I don't know. I have to say it's in the low 80s. It's amazing. It's awesome. I've gone up there several times with family and with friends, and we stay right on the river, and just very little phone activity at all. In fact, until the last day, I didn't have my phone with me, like at all. And the last day, I brought it out with me in a waterproof case so I could record my son and one of his best friends jumping from a tree down into this, jumping like pretty high, like 25, 30 feet up into the water. And but other than that, no. I mean, it felt so good to not have the phone with me and to just really be just out there enjoying the river, enjoying friends, enjoying nature. And we all need that more often. It's so rejuvenating and so healthy for us. How are we different? How are we different from the nation that was formed 250 years ago? Well, I think when you're young, your childhood is centered really around like your hometown, right? The people that you see, your family, your friends, your network. And nowadays, we're connected to everything, everywhere, all the time. Like we can feel in some ways that we're just as connected and close to people that live out of state or out of the country because we have the capacity to talk with them daily or multiple times a day or do FaceTime stuff or do Zoom calls or Google Meets or whatever it is, or travel in a plane and within a matter of hours get on the other side of a giant country or state. And so our connectedness should be enhanced by all those things, and in some ways it is. But on some levels, it's also a bit of a detriment because we can get lost in our technology and feel more isolated than ever. So that's the difference, right? It's like if you go back even just 100 years, like again, I think people were more connected to their location and their community and the people within it, and much less connected to people outside of that. Nowadays, I mean, you really don't. You can feel just as close to somebody on the other side of the country because you're in constant communication with them and it's in real time. More information doesn't always mean more wisdom. So we have an abundance of information, certainly more than we ever had back then. And I don't know that it's helping make us any more wise. I think, again, we got to get back to the basics and to our foundation. And I think in most ways that's the Bible. I mean, it's the most important text, the most important document or book of all time. And most things are based on the principles inside those pages. And the more we ignore that and get away from it and try to create new rules for life, I think the more we hurt ourselves. We weren't designed to absorb the world's problems 24/7. Yeah, I've already kind of said that. We're not supposed to, I think, know everything happening everywhere. Certainly it's eye-opening, and it allows us to be able to help in certain situations. Like, can you imagine being in North America, a couple hundred years ago? You would not know about the earthquakes happening around on the other side of the world, impacting thousands of people, killing thousands of people. You wouldn't know that for a certain amount of days, if not longer, weeks, before that information was even passed along. And now we know it as it's happening, right? We have news and media and coverage everywhere around the world 24/7. and then everybody has their own device in their hand for reporting whatever's happening and putting it on social media. So it's just an overwhelm for sure that I don't think people didn't have to deal with back then. I think it's very stressful. It creates anxiety. We don't even know the long-term implications yet of the technology that's been established the last 20, 25 years. I don't think we do. We haven't seen it play out all the way yet, right? I mean, I'm kind of a perfect example of somebody that grew up with, I had a rotary phone in my kitchen growing up, right? The old dial, put your finger in the hole and spin the wheel, right? That's the 70s and 80s, but now look where we are. I've gone through a massive amount of change, and it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, the amount of stuff that comes at us every single day. I do believe that most Americans want the same thing. Most. I think we're mostly decent people, despite what the media and the news wants to portray. I think they want division because that sells. They want negativity because that sells. That's what gets people's attention. But I think overall, I think most of us want to look out for our families, want to be friendly with our neighbors, want to be able to provide, want to be able to help people who need it. I think we often want mostly the same stuff. It's how we get it done, how we get there. That's where we disagree, and that's where things just can get crazy. The fear, the division, the outrage, yeah, they're all profitable. Fear is profitable. Division, dividing people, profitable. And covering outrageous things. Companies, certain platforms profit from that. So that's how we're different. So I have another question now then. America's failures versus America's greatness. What's more damaging? Somebody that refuses to acknowledge America's greatness or refuses to acknowledge America's failures? I think the person who refuses to acknowledge America's greatness as a nation is more damaging as a U.S. citizen than someone who isn't willing to admit its weaknesses or failures. This is why. I think intuitively all of us understand that every nation has its failures, has its shortcomings. None of us is perfect. We know that because we all know ourselves. We all know that we are imperfect. We know our parents are imperfect. We know our siblings are imperfect. Our friends, coworkers, all that, right? We know that. So then we know on the greater picture that a whole nation, a whole country has its failures. And honest people typically acknowledge those failures. As hard as it may be, we typically admit where we're failing or where we've come up short. Or we should at least. But refusing to recognize America's accomplishments and its triumphs and its wins, I think, is more detrimental. And I think that's what destroys gratitude and being able to live in a state of gratitude, being grateful for where you are, when you are, kind of stuff. I think that America has produced extraordinary freedom, not only for its own citizens, but for people all over the globe. I think America has produced opportunity for people, again, here and afar, innovation, generosity and prosperity, all of those things. I think we are, if you ask people from all over the world, I think if you said, which country is very generous, or which country will stop a bully, which country will, do we do it perfectly? Absolutely not. Do we do it? I'm sure we could all write down ways that we would do it if we were in charge, but we're not. We elect people. We elect representatives to do that. We are a republic. But I would say we get it right more often than we get it wrong. And I think overall you have to look at the big picture that, our involvement in World War I and World War II and some of these other, conflicts was a good thing, right? Not that war is a good thing. It's not. But sometimes in life you have to go to war. And as hard as that is, that sacrifice that a lot of people made was the greater good. And I think that's, if you're not willing to admit that, if you refuse to admit that, you think everything, all resolutions can be solved with, handshake, you're sadly mistaken, because that's just not how people operate in the world. It's unfortunate, yes, but you have to face reality. And again, this goes back to truth. You have to accept what truth is. I think if we stop appreciating what we've inherited as people living today, most people living today around my age, certainly younger and even a little bit older, then we'll stop protecting it. If you won't protect what you don't appreciate, right? We all want to protect our own home. That's why we lock our door at night when you go to bed, right? Not that we inherited our house, but most of us worked our butts off to buy a house, right? But I appreciate the hell out of it. It's not perfect. My wife and I are working like heck to try and make our house better, investing money in it constantly, and it's unbelievable. Feels like you're never going to get there, but it's further along today than it was 5 years ago. And yeah, I'd work pretty hard to protect it because I appreciate it. And it's my home. And that's probably how you feel about where you live, whether you rent or own, right? You want to protect it. You look at your car. You appreciate your vehicle, right? You appreciate that it has four wheels and an engine that starts, right? And doors that close and seat belts that work and all these safety mechanisms and all that stuff. Yeah, you try to keep your car protected, right? Because you appreciate it. And I think we have to look at most things that way. How about really valuable stuff like our children? You got to take a moment and remember why having a child is such an awesome thing, and be able to live in gratitude for that blessing that you were given, that gift. And you would do anything to protect your child. I know I would, I know my wife would, and I know you listening would probably do anything. So, again, what's more detrimental? What's more damaging? I think it's people that are unwilling to admit to the greatness in this country and would rather just want to focus on the failures. So let's talk through some virtues, some American virtues, good ones, not so good ones, ones we need to recover, and ones we need to maybe kill. Okay? So American virtues, how have they changed? What are the good ones worth keeping? What are the ones that we should get rid of, right? Let's just talk through that really quick. So I think being tough is a good thing. Toughness is a great quality. Men and women. Responsibility. It's a great virtue. Being courageous. Having courage. Super, super important. Without courage, men and women who are courageous, you're not going to get very far. Yep. I mean, a mother is courageous for going through birth, right? Having a baby. A man is courageous when he gets down on one knee and asks that woman to marry him, right? It takes courage to do that. It's a big commitment, and hopefully it works and it lasts, or obviously the obvious ones, right? Saving someone's life, doing something that puts your own life in danger or in jeopardy. Courage. And then you got sacrifice. Actually sacrificing yourself for others. Now, you don't have to die to sacrifice for others, right? We should all be sacrificing for others every day. That's service, right? You're putting others before yourself. That's being sacrificial. Duty over comfort. Again, these are all great virtues to have. These are from previous generations. They've been around for centuries, for millennia. These are all qualities that people aspired to have long before I was ever here. To be tough, to be responsible, to be courageous, to sacrifice for others, and to serve others. Duty over comfort. Again, what I should do rather than what I would, like to do. What would feel nice. Easy is fine here and there, but you got to put duty ahead of it. Duty comes before comfort. And just to define toughness, just so, because that's gotten a really bad rap, all that toxic masculinity baloney that's been surfacing over the last decade plus. I mean, toughness doesn't mean anger. Toughness isn't necessarily controlling. Toughness, I think, is a dependability in somebody. Somebody that keeps their word. Somebody that protects others. That endures hardships. And somebody that shows up. I think if there's one great defining thing that I would want others to see in me or to speak about me would be like, Chris always showed up. He always showed up for, coaching the kids at baseball. And he always showed up for, events that were, important or even kind of unimportant. He was always there. He didn't miss stuff. He was present. He was included. He was part of it. At work, he showed up. It's a great quality, man. It's a great quality. If you just keep showing up, man, stuff happens. Good things happen. Relationships are strengthened. Bonds are just better, stronger with family, with friends, with coworkers. If you just keep showing up, stuff gets done. Action usually follows. You can't take action if you're not showing up. So if you're showing up, it's going to lead to good stuff. What's a virtue that we've weakened today versus the birth of our country? Well, yeah, I think personal responsibility has gotten a little bit fuzzy, a little bit gray. I think people like to deflect and not take responsibility for their own actions. They like to blame and point the finger and accuse others. Yeah, I think we've weakened that. I talked about the mental toughness side. I think there's a lot of kind of mentally, and again, I'm not saying just younger people. I'm just saying overall. I'm saying there's a lot of people older than me that mentally have lost their toughness. They've this emotional roller coaster, this emotional weakness, this emotional inability to cope with things and to compose themselves and control their emotions. It's not good. They're not as resilient. Resilience, I think, has weakened. I think we were more resilient if you go back 50, 100 or more years ago. I think we're really weak. This is a good one, too, with delayed gratification. We want it now, man. We are a culture of now, immediate. Amazon. Order it. It's at my doorstep in a matter of hours. Waiting for something for days or weeks on end, or whether it's an answer to something, a question that you have, or something that a physical thing that you need. We don't know how to delay our gratification, and I think that messes us up. I think some things are worth waiting for. My wife, sometimes she'll get something like a special occasion, say it's like my birthday or Father's Day or whatever it is. And she'd be like, you want to know? Do you want to know? Or do you want it now? And it'll be like days ahead or something. I'll be like, no, I don't want to know, and I don't want it now. I want it like when I'm supposed to get it. I'm kind of adamant about that. There's nothing I want so badly that I need it like immediately. In most cases, I really don't. I'd rather I like the idea of wanting, of that anticipation of getting something. Something good is coming, but I don't need it like now. I think some of the fun in that is like the waiting for it to show up and thinking about it. Like, oh, how will this improve my life or make this life better? Or like those new pair of sneakers, right? Or that new watch or your new phone or, a trip or whatever it is, tangible or intangible things. Like some things are great and better when they take a little longer to happen. I think, so I think the next generation or those younger people today need to continue to focus on these types of virtues: the strength of character, the personal responsibility, their faith, bringing God back into their lives, the discipline required. I mean, gosh, discipline when it comes to just our physical health, to our fitness and to our nutrition. If we can be more disciplined there, oh my gosh, life just gets so much better just from focusing there. If we're more courageous and more resilient. So those things right there, if the next generation, if people like my son's age, teenagers, if they can, or even my daughter, my daughter's 11, my son's 14. I mean, if those 6 factors, those 6 virtues, strength of character, personal responsibility, faith, discipline, courage, and resilience, if those things are meaningful to them and they go out of their way to enhance those qualities in their life, life is going to be better. Not just for them, but for the world. Yeah. So I wrote down something, an old American attitude that deserves to die. Now, there might be others, but this is kind of one that I think has kind of lost its guts, so to speak, or it's lost its merit, or it's lost its oomph. You guys remember Vince Lombardi, the amazing Green Bay Packer coach, right? He said something. And he was a coach of some really big-time teams, right? So you can't take anything away from him. He's a legendary coach, one of the greatest coaches in football history. But he did say something. He would say that winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. Now, of course, that's just in sports. That's football. But people would apply that mantra, that mentality, to life. The old, win at all costs. But the trouble is with that one is that winning matters to those people more than integrity. And when the win matters more, it's all you can see, then character, your character, I think you're going to be at a crossroads at some point, because that means you're going to have to be willing to do stuff that challenges being a good human being, challenges integrity. And there's times where the loss or the failure is going to be a better option because you keep your integrity intact. So, yeah, is winning important? I told you already, I'm a huge competitive type person. I want to win. I mean, I've always I want to win at everything that I do. But, however, if you're starting to cheat your way into that win, if you're trying to find an alternative route that really gets you to break away from who you are as hopefully a good person that is a person has a high degree of integrity, right? Somebody that's honest and trustworthy and stand up kind of man or woman. That's where winning doesn't matter as much anymore. And I'll tell you what, man, in failure and defeat, I have learned a lot more than the win. And maybe it's because I've had a lot more failures and defeats in my life. But you get a lot out of them, and you learn a lot about yourself. And so, yes, winning matters, but it's not the only thing. I think sometimes the loss can make the victories coming down the line even sweeter. Because if you just wanted everything you did, your perspective would suck. You wouldn't be a benefit to others. So what are my closing thoughts? I got some closing thoughts for you. I know I've been all over the place, but again, it's a reflection episode here. I'm just kind of talking through these questions and where we're at after 250 years, right? I think freedom isn't sustained by laws alone. It's sustained by people. We're the ones who wrote the laws. We're the ones who have to live them out, right? So freedom isn't just a bunch of words. It's people acting and moving in society. A healthy body is a necessity. We should have clear convictions in life. We should be men and women of strong character. We have to be emotionally resilient, or we have to at least aspire to get there. Not always easy. Some of us have had very difficult lives, and I can understand where that emotional resilience would be in question or very hard to attain, but doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Responsibility over excuses. Stop pointing a finger. Stop blaming others. Oh, if this person did that, I wouldn't be, Take personal responsibility, as hard as it can be sometimes. I'm talking to myself too. Truth over confusion. I choose truth. I am a truth seeker, even if the truth hurts or the truth sucks or its truth isn't what we want to hear. I take the truth over some kind of false reality that I've conjured up. Peace over outrage. Yeah, I want peace, and I know where it comes from. I only can look up. That's the only place I'm going to get peace. And character over comfort. Sometimes a person of good character has to get uncomfortable in order to do or say the right thing in a particular situation. Lastly, wrote this down. Free nations are built by strong people, and strong people are built one decision at a time. Free nations are built by strong people. We are a free nation, still. I hope forever. And strong people are built one decision at a time. We are strong by design. We are. But being strong by design is a choice. It's a series of choices. We have to decide every day of our lives when we wake up that we're going to be, or try to be, better today than we were yesterday. Right? All you have is today. Tomorrow is gone. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's not here yet. Let's hope tomorrow's not gone. So, yeah, you know the saying, right? Focus on today because yesterday is gone and tomorrow's not here yet. And all you have is today. So every day, if you make that choice when you put your 2 feet on the ground and stand up, that I'm going to make more right decisions today than wrong ones, then you are one of these strong people that's going to help keep this a amazing country, what I think is the best country in the world. And it's okay to think that. It really is. It's okay to think, you know what? America is a special place. It's why people will do a lot of different things to try and get here. It's because it's a land of opportunity, and it's a free place for people. And when you work hard, you will benefit from that, and you should. Hard workers should benefit from their hard work. So I hope you got something out of this today. I know I was a bit all over the place, just a lot of ideas and questions and answers that I've just been kind of writing down and tossing around in my head over the last several weeks with the celebration of our country. So I thank you for being a patriot and for tuning in to the Strong by Design podcast. And again, if you disagree with a lot of what I said today, or all of it, well, then you need to really start spending some more time, I think, thinking about the big questions, the important questions, and be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. And don't let politics and all this news and all the crap that's thrown at us every day, don't let that be where you form all your decisions. Like, go internal a little bit and reflect a little bit, isolate a little bit more, unplug a little bit more, and spend some more time really thinking about what matters most. And I think ultimately a lot of us have more in common than we think, or than we get credit for. So thank you so much for listening, for following the show, and we look forward to another episode in the next couple of weeks. And hey, you are strong by design. You have a choice to make every single day. Hope you make the right one. God bless you. Talk with you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.